You know the saying, if you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes? Well, personally, I think it gets used a little bit too literally most of the time, but last week, Denver almost literally got there when they went from the middle of summer to the middle of winter just about overnight. Buckle up, I'm digging into the science behind that big temperature dive in this week's Heather's Weather Wise. We may like to complain about Buffalo's changeable weather, and sometimes, sure, it feels like we get all 4 seasons in a week. But we had nothing on Denver, which went from 100 degrees to first measurable snowfall faster than you can say blizzard of 77. Okay, maybe not that fast, but Denver did set some pretty serious records with last week's cold front, and here is one of those record lists. It looks at the time between the last 100-degree temperature day and the first measurable snowfall in a season. Then you look at the number of days in between those two occurrences. The shortest period of time between the last 100-degree day and first measurable snowfall, at least previously, was 25 days. But last week, Denver did it in 3. Here's what happened. Way up north, the jet stream weakened and buckled, allowing just a bit of polar air, yes, it's that polar vortex thing again, to spill southward. It warmed some as it moved along, but it still did its job. The high on Saturday afternoon at Denver International Airport got all the way to 101 degrees. Fast forward to first thing Tuesday morning, temperatures were down into the mid-30s in some spots. Now, cue the snow. Denver is no stranger to September snow, but it had been almost 2 decades since the white stuff stuck this early in the season. The thing is, a lot of it melted as it hit the ground just because of the sun angle this time of the year. The Mile High City actually gets its fair share of big temperature swings too, so the oddest part of last week's weather was the fact that it happened last week. Here's a look at the top 5 biggest 24-hour temperature drops for Denver. Notice every single one of them was in mid to late winter. There's a couple of reasons for that. Denver's location plays a huge role in the wild weather for starters. First of all, Denver neighbors the wide open plains where at any given moment in the wintertime, a fresh blast of Arctic air can easily come spilling southward. Denver is also notched up against some pretty serious mountains, the Rockies. So if the wind flow is moving up the mountains, the air is going to cool down pretty darn quickly as it's doing so. But if the air is coming from the west on a westerly wind, the air is going to move down in elevation and it's going to warm up significantly as it does so. By the way, highs were back near 80 degrees just this past weekend. So when it comes to wild weather, Denver takes the trophy this time by a mile. That's it for this week's Heather's Weather Wise. I'm going to take a couple of weeks off, but remember, you can see any past episode of Heather's Weather Wise on the WGRZ YouTube channel anytime. I'll see you in a couple of weeks, but until then, remember, it's good to be a geek.